Hey everybody, I'm your four-eyed professor, Chris Lievens, and I'm super excited to talk to you today. Our roll call is for new and experienced ODs, optometry students, and even those just interested in this profession. We'll cover a number of topics together, and I'll help you see them through a professor's eyes. Please take your seats. School's in session.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I love it when I get to present a new topic that we haven't touched on before at all, and I do my best to try to stretch the gambit of ideas. And so today, I'm bringing a couple guests on the podcast. Amy and Tom, welcome to the Four-Eyed Professor podcast.
Hi,
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
my
having
pleasure.
us.
This is great. So I've had Amy on the cast before, and Tom I've known for many, many, many years as he was a former student. And now both are to have a major role in an entity called Curo Research, which is not the focus of today's podcast. That'll be a surprise as you listen to our conversation. But as we get started, why don't you both tell us a little bit about yourself so the audience meets you, as well as what is Curo Research?
Take it away, Amy.
All right. So my name is Amy Bland, and I have been working in the clinical research space for over 12 years. I got my start in ophthalmology research. I'm a certified ophthalmology assistant and a certified clinical research coordinator. I am super passionate about what I do, but I am also super passionate about leadership and good workplace culture.
Okay.
I'm Tom, and like Dr. Lievens had mentioned, I was one of his former students, and so great to see you every time I run into you. It's great. So I have been working at an ophthalmology practice for the majority of my career in Arkansas at McFarland Eye Care. Took a 1 to 1.5 year hiatus, and planning on joining the group again, but was pursuing an acquisition of a practice. There was a lot of things that I learned throughout the process, but of course, the biggest thing was leadership. I've always been passionate about that, and the passion is growing more and more because I see there's a need for it. Amy and I are doing Curo Research as well because we see that there is a need, not only for the doctors, but for the industry, for patients. I mean, there's a need everywhere for it. So we started this company together, and we're very passionate about that.
Love it. So how many people make up your team in total? Is it just the two of you, or how many more?
It's the two of us with some contracted employees. But the day-to-day, it's just the two of us right now.
Got it. So one of the topics that I thought it appropriate to talk about, and I think doesn't matter the size of the team. It could be tiny, it could be immense. One of the issues that rings true in a positive way or a negative light is workplace culture. Something that can actually foster excitement where people love to go to work every day because the culture is so positive, and the polar opposite can occur, unfortunately, as well. And so who wants to start that topic, and then we'll just see where our conversation takes us?
Yeah, I'll get started.
Sure.
I was super blessed before I joined Curo Research. I was the executive director of clinical research for a large hospital system. So I had a little larger team, but we interacted with a lot of different departments. So our outreach, like at the reach in the hospital, the groups people we were able to touch was significantly larger. And the one thing that I found was just overall, the more I took care of my team, the more they took care of me, and the happier they were to come to work. And that just showed in everything that they did, to the point that people were constantly coming to us going, do you have any openings on your team? We would love to join your team. Hey, we've heard about your team. Can we join your team? And I think that the beauty of a great workplace culture where there's trust, where there's vulnerability, where there's accountability, which a lot of people don't always associate with good workplace culture, is that everyone feels empowered to do what they need to do.
So, what got me into leadership is I kind of fell into it. In optometry school too. The leadership roles that I took was out of a need, a necessity for guiding and for improving the culture. As students, we were all stressed out, running around, and so I knew that I needed to step in to help with that. And the same thing happened at work. I knew, like, the more involved I was and the more of an ownership that I took in kind of guiding the team and training and lifting them up, and the more I put my hands in it, the more I saw like an improvement in the workplace culture, but also improvement in workplace productivity, just improvement in morale, um, staff retention, just all the metrics started going up the more I got involved. And then it became fun. And so it's just been a passion of mine ever since.
So, what types of things go into fostering positive culture? Um, because perhaps you might find yourself at some point in your life entering a group that maybe doesn't have negative culture issues, but it's just not optimal. So, what steps can you make to go from mediocre to better, and ultimately best?
Yeah, I've got a really great path, I think. Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. I never say his last name right, and we're all sorry about that. But that is like the foundation of how you can turn a team's culture around. And that, like one bad apple ruins the bunch, right? Well, as far as that goes, within its team, you have to have trust. And in order to have trust, you have to have vulnerability. And in order to have vulnerability, your leader has to be willing to be vulnerable. And Five Dysfunctions of a Team kind of talks about that. And it also gives you a pathway to talk about it with your team and implement things. And so then that way, everyone feels like it's a safe space, and they're able to overcome any past hurdles and hopefully move forward.
Exactly. Yeah. Amy touched on a great point. The overall arching theme of a good workplace culture is fostering a culture of trust, where where the employees feel like they are part of something bigger, something greater. This is I'm trying to sum it up as best as I can. There's a lot of little parts. It's such a nuanced topic, right? And there's so much to talk about that I'm trying to condense it as much as possible. But really, at the end of the day, creating a good workplace culture starts with the leader, and it starts at the top and it trickles down, throughout the entire corporation or throughout your entire team. And the to summarize it the best I can, to create a good workplace culture, you have to meet the needs of your employees. There's the concept of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If we don't have our basic necessities met, it's not just shelter and food and clothing, but it's also emotional as well. If we don't have our emotional needs met, if we're constantly frustrated at work, if we're stressed out beyond imagination, if we don't feel like an important person, an important part of the team, those are the emotional needs that I'm talking about. And so if we don't have those things, then our behavior comes out seeking those things in detrimental ways, not in good ways, right? And so by fostering a culture where the leader takes care of those needs, makes sure that their team their voices are heard, their ideas are taken into consideration. They create an environment where they're supported instead of having to navigate through things themselves. Everyone, you implement in your value system in your company that you uphold values of trust, integrity, respect, kindness, all those things. I think it ties into just taking care of your employees' needs psychologically and emotionally.
So you touched on something there, Tom, which piqued my interest. You mentioned that you believe that the crux of a positive workplace culture and environment starts at the leader in a leadership position. To me, leadership and management are two completely different things. Somebody may have skills for both, but they also may lack skills for both. To me, I had a number of management courses when I was in the Air Force. I think you could teach someone how to be a manager, how to manage tasks, how to manage others, and you can be quite good at that. But leadership to me is much more inspirational. People do their job because they want to, not because they're told to. And so is leadership something that you just have or have not? Is it something that you can get to grow and get to excel at, and you can learn to be better in terms of leadership, or not?
You touched upon something very important. There's a difference between like a visionary leader that inspires action, and just like a project manager, sort of like making sure, like taking accountability of others. There's a big difference and very different skill set. Like you had mentioned, some have capabilities of doing both. Some people are more geared towards one side than the other. And I think it's important as a team to have both. I think the true essence of a leader is inspiring action in others, inspiring positive action that produces results, that improves productivity at work in a healthy way. We don't want to scare people into submission into doing things. We want them to be inspired and be excited about doing things, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like I truly do believe that this is a learned skill, that anybody can learn. It's about how are you willing to go there? Are you willing to change sort of like the framework that you have in your head that you have followed all these years? Are you willing to sort of open up, and try something new, and maybe even change the way you've always done things, right? And so it's just to put it simply, are you stubborn or are you open-minded and are willing to change, right? So it's definitely something that can be improved upon. But the skills that are needed to improve these things are self-awareness. Number one, huge. Self-awareness is very important. Just understanding your emotional regulation and understanding the emotional regulation of others, I think, is very, very vital and very, very key. So self-awareness and also awareness in others is definitely what's needed to be able to jump to that next level.
Yeah, leadership is definitely something that can be learned. But I think Tom's right? Like you have to be self-aware and you have to want to do it. It's like any relationship, right? It takes a lot of work because you're putting the work in with yourself and with your teammates and with your coworkers and making sure that they feel secure enough to handle that with you. I think one of my favorite quotes from James Clear is like Atomic Habits. And he says, it's something like leadership isn't a giant leap, it's a bunch of tiny steps. And so I think the thing to think about as a leader, it's not bringing pizza once a quarter. It's how you're treating those people every single day and in every interaction that you have with them. It's how they feel either valued or heard or cared for. If your teammate calls in because their kid is sick and they get the, oh my gosh, you called in again, instead of, oh my gosh, is your kid okay? Do you guys need anything? You guys are a good enough team. You can make up the difference of that person. But if you guys don't have the right attitude, then it gets kind of difficult. But I think that also kind of ties in my opinion, like you've got to have the right hiring process to get the right people in the door with you to make sure that team is a cohesive unit.
All right. I'm going to change my direction a little bit. I'm going to give you both two hypothetical situations, and I'm calling them hypothetical because I'm a polite guy. They're really not hypothetical at all. I've experienced them both, and probably y'all have as well. But we're just not going to name names. And either one of you can take each situation in terms of some strategies you might employ to counteract the challenge. So in situation one, you find yourself on a new team, and for X amount of period of time, the leader, manager, director of the group is poor at all those tasks. For whatever reason, and you have no control to remove that person from their position, but they are the opposite of what we're talking about now. Not inspirational, not fostering trust, not transparent. They're the person that did what you just said, Amy, and said, "Oh my God, you're not coming into work, or you're late to work again. You need new kids." Situation number two is you find yourself on a team, and it doesn't matter how many people. We'll say 6 people, 6 to 20 people, and there's one bad seed. Mm-hmm. And that one bad seed, you also do not have control over removing that person, but they take up 99% of the tension in a negative way. They're an energy suck. Mm-hmm. So I don't care which one of you takes which challenge, but these are things that happen in life, and they happen in teams, and they can frustrate us as coworkers and employees and colleagues. So what are some things you might suggest people do when they encounter these situations?
I think in both scenarios, the first strategy that I would use is to try to get to know this person, get to know this manager or this leader that's hard to work with. Try to get to know this bad apple that's in your team, and really truly get to know them, truly get to know their desires, their wants, their needs. Oftentimes what I have found is that these people who are difficult to work with, they have needs that are unmet. And so by taking the time to get to know them, for example, in my team, I had we had some bad apples. The acquisition that I was undergoing, I took on a leadership role, and it needed some work, of course. And so when I got to know the individuals that were causing some tension in the group, I had met their needs. I listened to them. I valued their opinions. I pretty much, it's to sum it up, I found out what their needs were, what needs were unmet. And I took a more collaborative approach, thinking, what can we do to improve the situation? What can I do to kind of meet their needs and inspire action in that sense? I know that's a little bit vague, but we can get into the nitty gritty details. But same with managing up. I really like the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Yes.
Because it's about managing down the chain as well as influencing up the chain of command as well, right? And so in that sense, how do you influence up the chain of command? But at the end of the day, it's about growing closer and figuring out the needs of the leader, and also setting the example for the team, setting the example where the manager or the leader is not sort of meeting the needs of their team. So I'm gonna pitch in, and I'm gonna be the light that kind of inspires action in people without stepping on toes. Of course, there's a nuanced way of doing it. And also once the leader looks at what you're doing, then a collaborative conversation. It opens up the door to, hey, this may not be your strong suit, but what can I do to kind of help in that situation? So you can focus on the things that you're good at, that you're passionate about. And so what can I do to help, right? And you come from a collaborative standpoint. So those are the ideas that I have, and the strategies that I would take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you had to say about Jocko Willink, because that was like extreme ownership was my initial thought instantly. And basically, you don't have to be the manager or the boss to be a leader on a team. You can be a leader in your own space. You can be the change that you want to see on that team. And I think the other thought that I have is we dealt with some bad apples And even if they weren't on my team, I set the expectation of, hey, when you interact with us, this is what's expected. And if you don't interact in that way, we're going to make it really uncomfortable for you until you choose to interact with us in the way that you want to. And usually, like Tom said, once you find out what their need is, like, why are they so grumpy? Why are they, having this issue? Things settle down a little bit. But occasionally you have that person that is just mad at the world and really isn't interested in being a team player. And you just let them know, hey, this is our life. This is the way we are. And you can get on board, or you can be really uncomfortable at work every day. And usually they'll weed themselves out. They will decide that this is not the workplace for them any longer, is what I've seen. We just haven't had anybody that didn't get on board and stuck around.
Right. So I'm going to form a different question and take us in a slightly different direction, because in healthcare, the staff in a practice, no matter how large, or even in a hospital setting, sometimes look to the doctor for leadership and management. Sometimes in a private practice, somebody can acquire and be the responsible for small business ownership as well. And in both these situations, a physician may have years of experience in biochemistry and physiology and not have taken one class or picked up one manual or one textbook on anything that even comes close to leadership or management. And yet they might find themselves in a position where this is a large part of their daily expectation and daily work. So for somebody that finds themselves there, where do you recommend they start? How can they begin the path to develop a positive team and a positive workplace culture by helping themselves become a better leader? What's the first few steps?
Yeah, educate yourself, right? I always started with the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and then we did the ideal team player. And then the next book we read together as a team. And when I say we did it as a team, it was a book club. You went through a couple of chapters together. You did it, you discussed it, you applied it, and then you went back into it for the next few chapters. I know that's kind of idealistic, right? I was super lucky. I had a lot of autonomy on my team. So maybe you're not able to do that full book club with your team, but you can recommend that they read it, and you yourself can read it, and you can get yourself educated about, these are the things that I can be doing. And then, like I said, Extreme Ownership, I just think it's a really great book for leaders to get into. And then my fourth and final plug is Crucial Conversations. Nobody likes to have those hard conversations. And they're tough, but the biggest thing that book taught me was that you have to stay curious and not defensive. And it's a really great tactics about how to have those conversations and what to do next, and how to phrase your words so that they're able to be received. So educate yourself. There's a ton of great resources out there. So
yeah. Chris, you just touched upon like a subject that I'm very, very passionate about. I am a firm believer that all doctors are leaders. You are a leader, no matter if you like it or not, because the team that you work with, they do look up to you. You talked about, you're asking the question of, what do we get from realizing that I need help with this to bridging that gap? But I feel like the biggest need right now is getting from the point of not being aware to being aware. I think that is the biggest issue. I've worked with a lot of doctors over this past year and a half that do not have that awareness, I've worked with so many doctors where staff is like, oh, I'm walking on eggshells around this person. I'm so terrified. And like, oh my gosh, this doctor was working with this doctor today. Oh my gosh. But that doctor has no idea, And so like, what can we do to even get them aware that, you know what, they have the power to influence their team, and what can we do to make them want to have a better team, right? Some doctors don't even care, unfortunately. They're just there to do their work, to collect the paycheck. I'm just here 9 to 5. I'm just going to do the bare minimum and call it a day. So the question is, how do you get them to want it, and how do you get them to even be aware of it in the first place? I think that is the biggest challenges that we find. And I think that you're right. Like, it's not taught in schools, but I think that there it needs to be like a separate curriculum talking about like the psychology in the workplace, and talking about the influence and leadership, and why that's important, and putting an emphasis on that. I think there's a big need in that. But once you have developed the awareness, and the desire to want to change and be better, then you start to go down rabbit holes, and you end up finding the resources that Amy had mentioned. It just falls on your lap as you're going into, Facebook has a way of listening to your needs and presenting it to you. Take this course,
true.
read this book. You know what I mean? You will find what you're looking for if you are in search of it in the first place. So there are a lot of great books like Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink, big fan. But also I really do like everything and anything that that Simon Sinek puts out. Like every time like he opens his mouth, I'm just like, oh, true words have never been spoken. Like it's just it's like he gets it. He understands the workplace culture and the trust that's required, and everything like that. But yeah, once you're ready to accept it, the universe will give it to you, right? And so the biggest challenge is, what do we do to even get to that point in the first place?
Right.
And I think it's like we said, you don't have to be in that position of manager to be the leader on a team. So at any point, you are likely, somebody is looking up to you, whether it is all the techs, whether it's another doctor, whether it's even just, the kid down the street that saw you running a mile that day, and they're like, wow, that person's so cool. Like people are always looking up to you. So I think we should always be thinking about how we can be a better influence, a better leader, a better, just positive, wonderful person in this great big old world of ours.
Agreed. My plug is, I was fortunate the Air Force had sent me to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders course, which was a weeks long course that was really phenomenal and definitely changed me. And without going through that in great detail, one of the salient points that I still recall is that there on a team that there is no job beneath anybody. And so, when I go to work and I see a trash can that's full, I empty the trash can. I don't say, oh, that's not my job or that's beneath me. It's not. We are highly effective when we can all pitch in and help each other. And I think when people see you doing the right thing without you intending to be seen doing the right thing, that's really what can inspire positive change as well.
Absolutely.
So as we begin to close, give us some last words of wisdom that either echo something that you really want to hammer home to the audience, or maybe something we haven't touched upon again, because I really think that this topic is undertold and really needs to be brought to the forefront to many people, because it's something that we all face.
I think for me, it is that probably a little bit of a cliche saying, but there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. And so if your team isn't performing the way that you want them to, take a look at yourself first. See what it is that you can do to make it better. Be curious. Ask them how you can make it better, and care enough to actually follow through with the things that they tell you that they need.
I like it.
I'm going to give credit to Kim Cameron, who is a researcher in positive leadership, one of the biggest researchers out there. The biggest predictive factor of successful leadership, the number one predictive factor is your ability to excite those around you. Is to like, when you walk into a room, all of a sudden there's positive energy, right? That positive relational energy, or the positive affective presence that someone brings into a room, is the number one predictor of leadership success, according to his studies. And what he determined as success is not just happy people. No, what he determined as a measure of success was producing great results at work, going above and beyond, like hitting the best numbers that you ever hit in your business. That was the predictive factor of leadership success. So my biggest advice to people is, who are you going to be when you walk into a room? Do you want to be the one that drains the energy, that just exhausts people around you? Because that has not shown to be very effective as a leader. Or do you want to uplift people? When you walk into a room, they're excited that it's going to be a great day. And that, let's start with that. Like, what can you do to elicit that response in your team?
What inspirational thoughts, you two. Fantastic. Y'all made my day. And I think the audience is going to have to listen to this cast a couple times, because, or at least rewind, so they can really hit home some of the recommended texts that you guys have noted, because it's something that we can all do better. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for spreading the word about good leadership and good workplace culture. I appreciate
Awesome.
that.
See y'all.
Thank you.
Hey, family.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this full podcast, don't miss out on more engaging content. Check out the next episode right here. And for the latest updates, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Catch us in the next episode. Peace.